Hello everyone. In this video, we're going to discuss about mesh analysis. So, mesh analysis is a technique that used to find the current circulating around the loop. So, we're going to discuss what is mesh analysis and the procedure and the rules. So, what is mesh? Sabi nga nila, mesh is a loop which doesn't contain any inner loop. So, ang loop ay mesh rin. So, ang loop is yung makikita nyo sa ilalim ng box o yung round na parang clockwise. Yun yung loop. So, mesh is a loop. So, we have some procedure of mesh analysis. So, first, we're going to assign the mesh current o yung sinasabi nilang loop. Tapos, develop the KVL equation for each current. Then, solve for the KVL equation to find the current. So, we have some examples. So first, assign the mesh current or the loop. So we're going to write the loop, which is the I1. Then the second loop is the I2. So, this is what we call or tinatawag natin na mesh 1 at mesh 2. Then the second step is develop or solve the KVL equation or the Kirchhoff's voltage law. So uunahin natin yung loop 1 or the I1. So we have 10 volts around. So first, so it's positive because it's going to positive. And then next is negative 7 because it's going to negative. Which is, this is positive and negative side. So around is negative. So it's negative 7. And then negative 7, I1. Next is going to negative again, down. So it's negative 5, which is between the I2 and the I1. So we're going to put I1 minus I2. So it is minus because they have different direction, which is I2 is going to up and then I1 is going downward. And then we're going to simplify. So we have 7 and 5, so it's negative 12i. Then negative 5i2 is equals to, we're going to transpose the 10, so it's negative 10. So this is the first equation. Then next is the second loop or the I2. So it's negative 5 because it's going to down, which is negative side. So positive, negative. So going down is negative. So it's negative 5 again because it's between the I2 and the I1, which is when it's going up, the I2, it goes to the negative sign. So it's negative 5. Then I2 minus I1 because again, it's between the I2 and the I1 which have different direction. And then, next, we have negative. Again, it's negative, it's going to downward. So, it's negative 5i2 equals to 0. And then, when we simplify, it is positive 5 because it's negative times negative. So, positive 5i1 and then negative 10i2 is equals to 0. So it is the second equation. And then the I1, as you can see, it's 10 volts and then goes to 7 and then negative 5. So it's round, which is the direction is clockwise. So we don't forget that KVL, or the Kirchhoff's voltage law, is all the sum of the voltage is equals to 0. So it's always reminded. Then next, we have the third steps. So we're going to solve the KVL equation to find the mesh current. So in my class, all the problems that we get is solving for the voltage, solving for the current, or finding the V1 or whatever. But as we solve, we're going to use what we call the metric solution. So metric solution can be found in a calculator or the scientific calculator. So it's available only in scientific calculator. So you can change, or you can set up the mode in the scientific calculator. So you can solve the metric solutions. In metric solution, you can input all the equation or all the KVL equation that you solve. So I'm just here to help and show you what I've understand in my class. Here are some note or a reminder. So a mesh analysis is only applicable for a planar network. So I have example here. We have the planar and then the examples of a non-planar. So as you can see, there are different, which is a non-planar is a cross, and then planar is only a simple network of current. And then the second one, the direction of mesh current or the loop is clockwise. So all the problem of meshes, as I see, lahat talaga ginagamitan ng clockwise direction. So the number of equation is required to solve for mesh current. So hindi lang isang equation or dalawang equation ang makukuha mo sa mesh current, kasi depende yan sa problem. Either we have a 4 loops, so kailangan mo talaga ng 4 equations. So that's all. Superposition theorem. So we have the next topic. The voltage across, or the current through an element in a linear circuit, is the algebraic sum of a voltage across or a current through that element due to each independent source acting alone. So there are two sources of the current pag sa superposition. So makikita mo talaga. It means all the independent source are placed by their internal resistance. So sabi nila, lahat ng independent source ay may iba't ibang connection ng resistance. So I'm going to show some examples. So we have the problem, find V using superposition theorem. So let us consider 6 volt source. As you can see, it is a open circuit. So we have the loop 1. So the I1, then we have the V1. So I1 is going to 6 volts. So this is the process. We're going to divide by the 4 ohms of resistors, and then we're going to add the 2 ohms of resistors to get the V1. So equals to 1. To get V1, so V1 is equals to I1 times 4. So 4 is from the 4 ohms of resistors. So we have V1 is equals to 1 times 4 is equals to 4 volts. So we have the V1. Then next, we're going to consider the 3 amps of source. We have loop 2 and V1, and it's a closed current. So I2 is equals to 3 times 4 ohms of resistors divided by 4 ohms plus 2 ohms. So it is equals to 2 amps. Then V2 is equals to I2 times 4. So V2 is equals to 2 times 4 is equals to 8 volts. So there are difference between the closed current and the open currents. They have different process of solving. Getting V from superposition theorem is equals to V1 plus V2. So we have 4 volts plus 8 volts is equals to 12 volts. So our V is equals to 12 volts. And we have another reminder for the superposition. So first, identify the network current. So we should not forget to identify the network if it is dependent or independent. Second, the dependent sources are in the left. So the left side are the dependent source. And then last, the superposition theorem is not valid in case of a nonlinear circuit. So a nonlinear circuit is an electric circuit whose parameters are varied with respect to current and the voltage. So it is valid only for a linear circuit.